We just saw Flow, the indie animated feature with a million production companies at the beginning of the movie. I definitely enjoyed the experience. I enjoyed the film. It's a short-ass movie. It's only an hour and a half.
Doesn't feel like a short-ass movie.
It doesn't feel like a short-ass movie.
It's very melancholy.
It's very melancholy. One of the things I did like about it is it felt like I was in a video game. It felt very immersive. And there's literally no dialogue, which I always really appreciate when I see movies that are pure visual storytelling. But my biggest critique of it is that I think they could have cut off 15 to 20 minutes. Easily. There was just some redundancies with like some emotional points and things like that. But overall, I mean, who doesn't like following a cat around and a dog and a lemur a capybara?
Very well thought out animation of the animals. They obviously probably use some motion capture on animals to help nail it down.
And it was really realistic.
Spot on. And that was really satisfying. They even had little moments that it was kind of like, they had the cat playing with the lemur's tail and stuff, and the dog just being a dog, and like moments like that, just kind of reminding you that they're just animals. So they did a good job of just kind of creating these characters that really stayed in their lane, as like they're not like humanoid animals. They're really just animals.
Which I really appreciated that.
Cool. Obviously, they had moments where it's like, an animal would never do this, but that would make for a pretty lame movie. So they had a lot of cool, exciting moments and anxiety-ridden moments.
And I want to talk about something that's specific. So spoiler alert, stop it if you don't want to keep listening. I really loved the overall world that they created, where it felt kind of abstract, like you didn't really know where they were. And I loved the beginning where it just alluded to that, like, the cat had an owner, and like the owner died or something. Like, it didn't actually like tell you, but that's what I was left to believe.
There's enough
that like this person was just like a cat person and obsessed with cats.
Massive statues or something that it seemed like cats were worshipped in this world, or at least this cat was.
Yeah.
And obviously it was a felt like a post-human world. Wherever this world was. And I'm sure there's symbolism in there for whatever you want to make it mean, mapped onto your own life. But
well, and I also love that, like, because there wasn't any dialogue, they had to have everything based in action. So they did show the arc of, like, the cat in the very beginning was really afraid, a huge loner, and then by the end was thinking from this we united perspective and did have this family. Like, I loved the bookend of, like, the beginning, the cat looking in the thing and it's completely alone, and then at the end, like, has a family. And I don't know if we're necessarily supposed to know, but I was a little confused of what the thing was with the bird. Like, my interpretation of it was that it died, like it like went to another realm.
The bird knew exactly where it was going, and it was like, I need to get to this place so I can go to the beyond.
Yeah.
So it's possible that that specific bird exists in some sort of folklore, and that we're not privy to.
Yeah.
Unless you are, but
I mean, yeah, I don't necessarily think it mattered, but yeah, it's like the bird was very, like, driven and focused, or maybe that's literally where the birds were meant to migrate, to go to, like, some other thing, like the fact that it wasn't going to stop for the dogs, and the fact that, like, I just think it's funny that those dogs kept.
It was a mechanic to tell the cat that it's on its own now, because the cat was kind of transfixed on this bird and, like, wanting to be like this bird. This bird was so confident and knew where it was going and all this stuff.
Also, the bird stood up for the cat and helped the cat. So I think there was
the cat was trying to like imitate it and stuff. So
yeah, almost like our middle dog with our oldest dog, like it really wanted its attention like a sibling. But I just think it's funny that like there was no language, but what I was left with was that the pack of dogs other than the main dog were like kind of assholes.
They're all a bunch of
like,
idiots.
They're just like a bunch of idiots and assholes.
That's most dogs
and they
in
kept
most movies,
and they
so.
kept like getting stranded in places, and then like they abandoned it because the bunny is like squirrel, like the bunny ran by. But Anywho, but that was my biggest criticism is I honestly also think it could have been a solid hour, and it would have been like really, really riveting, but there was definitely some parts that were...
They probably had reasons why they needed to make it an hour and a half. Maybe they're...
No, I think for Oscar, for feature length, it has to be at least 40-45 minutes. That's what I know for sure. So I think sometimes people have this thing about like, oh, I can't just make a movie an hour. And it's like, but you can, like if it's a solid hour.
It's easier to make an animated film like that shorter than it is to make it longer. So they obviously wanted to make it an hour and a half with all this stuff.
No, for sure. It's just like I said, like I know that it had that kind of melancholy thing, but that was, overall, if there was just some beats and stuff that I thought that they'd already made. But I got really moved when the bird stood up for it. Mm-hmm. And like it's kind of like we're in it together now. Anyway, lovely. One more thing I wanted to add. I love the different perspectives that it showed you in the film by what was happening in the plot. So for instance, all the animals that lived on land, when the water rose, it had them deal with all of this conflict, and they were losing their homes, and they were super scared, and some of them didn't know how to swim and all of that. But to the whale, it just had them have more environment to swim in. Like different animals, as well as different people, have different perspectives and different needs. So it felt like it pointed to this bigger theme of the circle of life, and almost in a greater sense of, the expression like one man's trash is another person's treasure. So in a greater sense, one person's miracle is another person's tragedy. It's part of the circle of life. It's part of the ebb and flow of things. See what I did there? The title of the film.